Every year around this time, family members are constantly asking, what do you want for Christmas? And I always just send them over my Amazon wish list because it has everything that I've researched over the years on it. And the comment I get back a lot is, everything you have on there are knives and axes. Why does somebody need so many axes? And so I thought I would do a quick video explaining to you guys why men need so many axes. And hopefully for you ladies out there who are wondering why your husband needs another axe for Christmas, this video will help answer a couple questions for you. Number one is the obvious reason. Axes are all used for different purposes. And so I'm gonna show you a few options in this video. Some of them are extremely cheap, and then I'm gonna go to the more pricey things. I am not a rich guy, so I have some pretty cheap axes. I also have some nice axes, and I've been working at building my collection of nice axes. If you're concerned about the future and what that means for you, having proper hand tools and being able to fashion your own things is going to be critical. Okay, so first up, I've got what I call my grunge axe. This is I think it's a Ludl axe. I don't even know this brand at all. I got this out of my sister's garage. She was letting me go through some tools in her garage and take whatever I wanted. It says China on the head of the axe. Every guy should have a grunge axe, and you can pick these things up at garage sales, off eBay, Craigslist, wherever you can, auctions. A lot of times when you go to auctions, stuff like this is auctioned off with numerous other items for pennies on the dollar. But I wouldn't spend much more than 10, 15 bucks on a grunge axe. This one, you can see it's got a lot of black on it. I use it to break up wood that's already in a fire. I mean, I use this thing for all sorts of crazy stuff. The bit on this has a lot of dings and dents in it, and that's from out doing field work with fences and, you know, cutting through stuff where I know there might be some barbed wire in a tree, but I have to remove things from the fence line in order to repair it properly. I'll take this axe with me everywhere in my truck. I mean, this is a great tool to have, but again, this is what I call a grunge axe. It's just a tool that is heavily used in situations where you don't care what happens to it because you can replace it with another one for $5. This is actually a fantastic little hatchet. This is a Coleman camping hatchet. My son got me this for Christmas years ago. And if you're gonna be doing any serious woodwork, I wouldn't recommend one of these. But they have this, basically this steel handle goes all the way through to the head. The head of this is never gonna come off. It's actually designed to knock in camping stakes and other things. So it's dual purpose as a hammer. This is another one that I carry in my truck with me constantly. I'm constantly using this around the ranch doing fencing work because, again, I don't care what happens to the blade. Now, these don't come with very sharp bits on them. I actually tapered my edge a little more, sharpened it up a little bit, and I used a bench grinder to do that. And I like the edge that I put on there now. It makes it real easy to sharpen, and I keep this one pretty sharp. And it's got, you know, a nail remover up there. This is just another really inexpensive option that you can get for somebody as a gift, and it's something that every guy is going to use. All right, so we're gonna step it up quite a bit here. I have in front of me here a Helco Work Universal axe, and this was a gift from one of our subscribers. They had it sent to me, and I'll be honest with you, for a while, I wasn't sure what to do with this axe. It is a beautiful looking axe. It's got this, it's got a very different head design where it's actually bolted to the hickory handle. It has a very nice hickory handle. This is a German axe. The steel is a little bit better quality than definitely the one made in China and the Coleman axe hatchet, but this has a great steel head on it. I think Helco Works makes a traditional line that I'm very interested in as well. But Helco Work makes some great axes. The issue that I found with this beast is that it's extremely heavy, and the way that the head is designed, I don't like the balance of it in my hands. It just keeps wanting to, you know, all the weight wants to kind of flop forward a little bit. So I've actually had this axe for a year, never fully did a review on it. Because it's a universal axe, you're supposed to be able to use it for splitting. It does have a nice kind of wide wedge there for splitting. I put it up against my splitting maul. It didn't perform nearly as well as my splitting maul. But overall, I have fallen in love with this axe. What I use this axe for the most, though, is after a tree is already down, I'm breaking the tree up, because although for felling purposes, I do not like the way that this axe swings, when it comes to chopping down at something, it has a lot of weight, a lot of power, and it rips chunks out of pieces of wood. So I use this axe a lot for trees that are already on the ground. And if I'm going out to clean something up, you'll usually see this in my hand because it's become my go-to for that type of work. So if you have a husband or somebody who is constantly doing some yard cleanup with some good-sized logs, this is a terrific tool for them to have. Even if you have a chainsaw, you're gonna find yourself reaching for an axe almost more often than you do a chainsaw to break something up quickly. And this thing is a beast. It is a beautiful axe, and like I said, the steel quality is a German axe. The steel quality is real good. You can put a nice edge on there, and really, with the weight and power of this thing, you don't want your edge to be super duper sharp, but you want it to be pretty sharp, and it'll just take massive chunks out of things. Oh, stuck. Okay, when it comes to splitting mauls, I have not found a better splitting maul than this Gramfors Brooks. This is the Gramfors Brooks splitting maul, and they make two different types of splitting mauls. This one has the head on the back for knocking in wedges. I really don't see what good a splitting maul is if it doesn't have one of those on the back. You don't want to just take a regular splitting maul or an axe and use it to knock in splitting wedges. You don't want to use it to knock in anything, because what it will end up doing is warping the head, loosening the head. This one is designed for dual purpose. It's designed for that type of whacking and hitting. The head of this is actually heavier than the Helco Works Universal Axe. So this one looks like a monster compared to this, but this one's actually quite a bit heavier. And so I did a video comparing the splitting power of this maul against the Universal Axe. Obviously, the Universal Axe, being a Universal Axe, didn't hold a candle to this one, but it's got a beautiful splitting design. It's very efficient. I have had several splitting mauls over the years, and what normally ends up happening is the head comes loose and comes off. This thing, you can tell it's pretty well worn at this point. My wife bought me this for Christmas back in I want to say it was 2018. It was a while ago now, and it is still tight. I mean, there's no wiggle in that at all, and it's just an absolute beauty. So this is going to be a more expensive axe. It's Gramfors Brooks. It's made in Sweden. I personally think that the Swedish axes and Swedish steel are the best out there. Of course, I guess it kind of helps that 1/3 of my blood is Sweden, but I think that this is probably the best splitting maul that your money can buy. There are going to be more expensive options out there, but this one is probably absolutely by far the best. One thing I will note is with these Swedish splitting mauls, the handle is actually shorter than the American splitting maul. That does give you some great control, but there's also a little bit of danger in that when you swing it down. If you miss, you have a chance of hitting your legs. So it does take a little bit more of an experienced person to utilize one of these. But like I said, it actually does give you, in my opinion, more power, more control, and just a better overall experience. So this is a beauty. I love this axe. Now both the Gramfors Brooks and the Helco Work come with genuine leather sheaths. And I actually think I like the Granfirst Brooks a little better. This one's actually starting to rip. I just noticed that. But they're both nice quality sheaths. So when you get these axes, they come with pretty much everything you need for them, whereas a cheaper axe is definitely not going to come with something like this. But that right there is a beautiful splitting maul. It's very effective. I would recommend this over just about any other splitting maul. I can't say enough good things about this one. Now, I actually do not have a proper felling axe. And something that I have been getting into are the smaller forest axes. Although I'd love to have a felling axe, I'd love to have a proper hatchet. This is probably, overall, my favorite axe. I use this on a regular basis. This is the Scandinavian Forest Axe by Granfirst Brooks. It's very lightweight, very easy to use. I'd say it's barely a two-handle axe. I mean, it's that small, but it's just big enough that if you had to get two hands on it for a larger project, you could. I mean, you could fell a tree with this axe. It would take you a little longer than a full-size American felling axe. But I love this axe. It's something that I carry with me when I'm going for walks out in the woods, because I know that when it comes to taking down a small tree or taking down an obstacle, and I'm focused on just cutting wood, I'm not going to be cutting through any fence lines or anything. This has been my go-to axe. On this axe, I actually have a guard, and this guard is made by Review Outdoors or Review Outdoor Gear. And my sheath for this one is also made by Review Outdoor Gear. Now, it does come with its own sheath, but well, my other sheath had an accident, we'll just put it that way. So, and this one is actually, this is a much better sheath than anything that you're gonna buy. If you do buy a Granfirst Brooks axe, if you want to invest in protecting it, you'll notice that the Granfirst Brooks sheaths have, you know, these metal pins all the way down, and they'll eventually wear through. This is just a better built axe sheath overall. And that's why, I mean, Review Outdoor Gear, they make several different things. I even have a belt loop that this can slide into made by them. And they make excellent leather products for just about any type of axe, any of the popular axes. And so I would definitely highly recommend that you outfit your axe and protect it with some of their gear, because it's an investment. This axe here is close to $300. And you can see just from the leather here how many times I've actually hit this. But you know, if you're somebody who is looking for a good present, this is probably one of the best gifts you can give somebody. I've seen their outdoor axes. I haven't used them. Small forest axe, large forest axe. But the Scandinavian style forest axe is a true survivor axe. I mean, it can do just about anything you ask it to do. It has beautiful balance to it. The steel of these axes is incredible. You can get it so sharp you can shave with it. People ask me, why do you need an axe so sharp you can shave with it? You know, the sharper the tool, the safer the tool when it comes to this type of stuff. You don't want to have to overwork yourself and tire yourself out. And that's where having good sharp tools, well-balanced tools come into play. When you spend, you know, $300 on an axe, you're gonna notice that your performance with that axe is 10 times more effective than your performance with something that's only like 10 or 50 bucks. And again, I use this axe on a regular basis, and the head on there is super tight. They've got this extension on the head that comes down a little bit to give you a little more coverage over the hickory handle. And I mean, this thing is rock solid tight. Before I got into this brand of axe, I had a lot of axes bought from Lowe's, Home Depot, wherever. and the head was always the first thing to come loose. I actually have lost the head on some. I've also had the handles snap, you know, wherever, right in here, or dry out. These handles, I keep them up with oil. The oil from your hands will keep up the handles, but every now and then I'll rub some oil on these handles just to keep them nice and fresh. But yeah, I don't think you're going to find a better axe maker than Gramfors Brooks, and they're certainly not the most expensive, but they aren't cheap either. And I don't think you're going to find a more universal axe than the Scandinavian forest axe. But like I said, I don't have a proper felling axe. I don't have a proper hatchet. This is something that I take with me when we go camping. It's something that I use all over the place. If you can only afford one axe, this would be it. So hopefully I've answered some of your questions. I mean, what it really comes down to is if you're working on a lot of different projects, the axe you run to and grab is going to change depending on the project. This one, like I said, is one I utilize a lot just for walks in the woods, camping, you know, things that I would normally use a hatchet for, I often use this for, although a hatchet would be easier on the forearms for some of the work that you use a hatchet for. But when I'm splitting wood, I obviously will use a real splitting maul. I don't try and split woods with a felling axe or a double bit, although you could use a double bit if you had one side a little duller for splitting wood. And the universal axe is something that I use frequently when I'm taking large objects down. But the point is that when you're working with hand tools, you're going to utilize a different axe for different purposes, and you need to have the options available to you. As we head into more uncertain times, having proper hand tools to be able to do the job that you want to get done effectively and efficiently is becoming more and more important, because you can't rely on gas, you can't rely on electricity, you need to be able to rely on your hands. And the only way you're going to be able to rely on your hands is by having the right equipment to do it. So I'll give you guys my wish list down below of all the felling axes that I'd like to have and the hatchets. But if you're shopping for your husband this Christmas, keep some of these brands in mind. It's a good time, a good opportunity during holidays and special occasions to really go from some of these cheaper options and upgrade to some of these tools that are going to last somebody a lifetime. This is an investment, and it's an investment that pays off.